Hey y'all, Melissa here with you today, and I love a good basic t-shirt, but I also love a not so basic t-shirt. And that's what I'm going to show you today. I'm going to show you how to add these contrast shoulders just to spice up an otherwise basic t-shirt. I'm using my Austin t-shirt pattern, and I've got details in the links below for how to get that. But you can use any t-shirt pattern as long as it has the set-in sleeves, not raglan sleeves, to do this. Okay, so I've gone ahead and I've printed for myself some half-scale pieces so I can show you how I create that pattern piece for the contrasting shoulder. Now, the first thing you're going to want to do is determine exactly where on your body you want that contrast to begin and end. So I'm going to draw it. Let's see, this is the back of the shoulder, so I don't want it to go too far down the back shoulder there. So I'm going to go about here. And then on the front, I do want it to come forward onto the front shoulder, but we're going to go, let's say about here. Okay, and then you'll notice that I have marked off the seam allowances already on my front and back shoulder pieces. And what you want to do then is you want to make sure that your seam allowances line up, one right on top of the other, and I can still see my black mark through there for where I wanted it to end on the back side, but I'm going to remark it so it's easier to see. Alright, so that is the piece that I'm going to want to make into a contrast piece. Now, the next thing I need to do is I need to add seam allowances to that. So, the contrast piece itself, it's going to need seam allowances to here and to here. And for my shirt front, I'm going to need a seam allowance on the other side. So I'm going to do that here, and same thing in the back. Here. All right, I'm going to take another piece of paper here and I'm going to trace the contrast piece, which goes to the outer seam allowances, right onto my other paper. So from outer seam allowance to outer seam allowance, same thing along at the armholes, and let me mark where I want those to end so that I can create that. All right, here is my shoulder piece, and I'm going to add some markings to this just to make sure for myself that I keep things straight. So I'm going to remind myself that this is the arm, this is the neck, this is the back, and this is the front. And then I'll cut this piece itself out of the contrast fabric. Let's talk about how to adjust the actual pattern. So I'm going to unpeel my tape there. And then here's my shoulder line that I wanted, and here is the seam allowance that's going to allow me to add the extra I need to the back of the shirt, and then sew it where the seam will end up right there with the contrast. Same thing here, I'm folding to this part of the front of the shirt, and then when I cut my pieces out, I'm going to cut them on those lines so that I've removed that portion of the shoulder that we're going to replace with the contrast. Alright, I've cut out my fabric, and this is what it looks like. Here is my back, here's my front, and here is my contrast shoulder piece. So, on the back here, this is the back and this is the armhole edge, so I want to match right sides together, making sure that I've got the armhole edge on the same side as the armhole, and go ahead and put that together with my shirt. I'm going to do the same thing with the other back piece, right sides together. And then these two edges will get pinned to my shirt front. Let me take this to the machine and then I'll show you what it looks like once it's sewn up. Okay, once you have sewn those shoulder seams, this is what your shirt should look like. And you can see if I match up the side seams now, how we've just replaced those contrasting shoulders, add that little extra detail for fun, and now you just finish the rest of the shirt the same way the instructions explain, the same way you would sew up a regular old t-shirt.